And I have.
Hi, it's Mark Coopersmith with UC Berkeley Haas marketing professor Judy Hopelain. Hi, Judy.
Hey, Mark.
We are continuing our series of videos on marketing with a particular focus on the classic 4 P's of marketing. And in this video, which is the second P, we are going to focus on price. Video 1 initially was an overview. Video 2, the first P, was product. Video 3 is price, which is a perfect one to follow product. And Judy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks. All right. The price P. So the price P is all about how much they're paying, they being the persona, right? The customers, and the terms for their payment, right? So what are those? Is there credit? What types of options are there in terms of how they pay? So let's get started. Again, we're looking at the same marketing marketers toolkit, the marketing mix of all of the various arrows in our quiver in order to drive conversion down the funnel from awareness through to advocacy. And we're
So
focusing in.
Judy, I'll just do a quick recap to our 4 P's, right? Product we've covered, price now, upcoming, promotion, and place. So those are the classic 4 P's. And as we mentioned in the first video, there's another half dozen P's, and we're using a few of them already. The customer persona or person, Judy mentioned packaging as well. So lots of P's related to this.
There's too many P's.
Yeah.
But there's four classic P's,
Yeah.
and they are product, price, place, and promotion. And so that's what we're focusing on in this series, although many other P's come up along the way. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Payment is another one. So again, here we're going to be talking about how much we charge for products and the terms on which we allow customers to buy them so that we make them accessible and available to them. But as you can see within price, there's a number of different, elements, right? There's the list price. We'll talk about what is that. There are discounts and allowances. There's the payment period, right? By when is payment expected? And there are credit terms. So continuing with our example of the Apple 7 watch, um, in terms of Apple's own product placements, right? They have a list price, and what we see in their communications for the Apple Watch Series 7, which is currently the most recent, the most up-to-date version of the Apple Watch, starts at $399. Now, when you see starting at $399 or MSRP, which is manufacturer suggested retail price, those are the list price. That is before discounts. That's just that's the price. And if you go to an Apple store, they very rarely discount in that store. They don't have sales very often, if ever. So you pretty much are always seeing the list price. You can go elsewhere and you might see deals. But Apple is pretty much always holding its full price on merchandise so that its channel partners, who we'll talk about in the placement P or place P, have some flexibility if they want to do something with price. But Apple is usually the high price umbrella under which anybody else can compete. Now, for the Apple 7, Apple Watch Series 7, and for other versions of the Apple Watch that they have also introduced over time, they offer an incentive, a discount. If you want to trade in your old watch, they will give you credit towards your new watch. They'll do the same thing with phones. So you may have seen that as well. They'll do the same thing with some computer equipment and iPads. So they are incentivizing customers through discounts, but they're not lowering the price. Importantly, right? That starting price is still going to say $399, but they are offering you a discount in the form of money back or off list price in order to return the old merchandise to them. What happens to that used merchandise? It has a number of different ways it can live on, right? It can be refurbished and sold as a refurbished item at a lower price point to somebody else who's willing to take a used item. And that often is the case with a lot of tech equipment and Apple equipment included. So here with the
Or
trade-in.
sometimes it's really just a way to provide a discount without putting the product on sale too. Isn't that right?
That's exactly. Yes, and I kind of implied that. That is how
Yes.
Apple is doing it. And depending on what you're returning, right? So you can get up to $210. If you're returning the very first original Apple Watch, you'll get less than if you're returning a very recent version of the Apple Watch. And it is a way of getting lowering the price of entry, right? Making that product accessible to more people. and also getting the product more permeated, penetrated out in the marketplace, so that
Yeah,
more
it's also a way to train us as consumers to trade our products in more frequently and keep buying the newest. So they know
people.
what they're doing on this.
Absolutely, and in fact, I mean, to their, not just not just that that's a bad idea, or to the defense of that approach, there are new features and bells and whistles and software that underlie the newer products that are not available and accessible to the older products. So your experience on the older ones is going to get worse over time. So they want you to have a good experience. So they are motivating you in some ways and trying to incent you to get the new product. But it does turn out to then teach us to expect that we're going to be upgrading and getting a new one every couple of years.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's something insidious about it. But there was also some altruistic motive there in terms of delivering the best experience. All right. So we can see the list price. We can see interesting ways of discounting without having sales, right? So there's not like a big sale banner, but this is a way that you can get a price reduction by returning your product. And I want to focus on credit terms. So allowances and payment periods are generally more B2B than they are B2C, right? So as consumers, we don't really get involved with those things, but those are things off invoice that if you were shipping product, say, I don't know, pick a product. Let's say you're shipping Tide, right, to Costco. So I'm Procter and
Tide
Gamble,
laundry detergent.
Tide laundry detergent. Thank
Right.
you. To Costco, big retailer.
Mhm.
And there's some allowances. Last time my shipment was late, or last time I overshipped. And so there's some sort of negotiation that goes on, and allowances and payment periods are
Or
ways.
maybe I want you to run an ad.
Maybe I want.
So I might provide some benefits for that too. So there's a lot of ways that I, as a manufacturer, can provide a retailer such as Costco or others additional money to either make good if I was late, or
Right.
to help promote my item, to put it in a better place in the store, things like that.
Good point. Yeah, if I want to be the end aisle display, for
Right.
example, right, I can pay to play.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not only when I mess up. So
Yeah,
thank you for
exactly.
adding that. It can be actually something I'm actually hoping you'll do for me, and I'll pay you in order to do it, to get me a better placement in the store. That's right.
Right.
So those are B2B. Those are negotiated between manufacturers and retailers, for example, and don't really apply here in this example. So I was going to skip to credit terms, because there's been a lot of innovation when it comes to credit. And many of you may have seen, some of these brands. I mean, this buy now, pay later, which is abbreviated BNPL, has become an explosion of, fintech ideas around, or startups trying to fill this need of allowing interest-free installment payments over time. So it's not a credit card where there's interest charged if you don't pay off the full balance. This is, and you may see this, on your purchases when you're online on some websites that have an option. Do you want to pay with a firm? And you can have 4 equal payments over the next X months and no interest charged, so that you can stretch out the payments, you can get the product now.
Right.
That's what these are all designed to do. And what's super interesting is just how many of them there are, and they're different all over the world, because payments and payment infrastructure and norms are different in these different markets.
Yeah, this is one of the areas that we're seeing that is innovating so quickly right now. And sometimes there are some challenges with that. The benefit of buy now, pay later, of course, is you can buy more now, but have to pay more later. And there's been some controversy around whether that's good for consumers or not. I'm looking at the chart you have here, and one area that, this is a CB Insights chart I see, one area that's not on there is China. And they've been some of the biggest innovators when it comes to payments and e-commerce, with things like WeChat Pay and Alipay, in addition to all of the ones that we see here too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that China is not on here, and I can't really explain why they didn't include China. I mean, they have Southeast Asia, but why they
Yeah.
didn't include China. But it's a great point, and Alipay is so pervasive, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's a bit of a walled garden when it comes to that marketplace. So the ability of many of these products to enter that market, but also the ability of Alipay and WeChat Pay to operate outside. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's it in terms of the price P.
Great. Well, so a couple of things that we talked about in the last video when we were talking about product and then price, and that dealt with the elements of bundling and value proposition. For me, as I mentioned, as a consumer, when I'm a consumer, as we're all consumers, with a bundle that might include, if we use our Apple Watch example, two extra watch straps and maybe some extra digital watch faces and a few other things, I'm going to do the computation. Am I willing to pay $50 more for that or not, based on what I think the ultimate benefit to me is of those features? So we constantly go through, and of course, vendors, manufacturers, companies go through this computation. How should I price that, and what should I include with that? And I'm not sure if there's any additional insights that you might offer around. I'm sure a lot, but just a few final thoughts.
Well, so I think that it is important. It's hard to quantify sometimes. So the value, what's the value to me of having that extra watch strap? And I mentioned it when we talked about variety and how do you ladder up to higher level benefits from those attributes that are so what's the right word? So prominent in Apple's marketing. And the benefit to me is it's showing me that I can customize this thing. It's showing me instead of just telling me, right? They're actually giving me two watch bands that are two different colors,
Right.
that allow me to be more expressive of myself. So I get to choose. I don't just wear the same thing all the time. I can choose how I want to customize my watch based on, again, what day it is, what I'm wearing, what the weather's like, any number of things. So I think that the value here, there's not a dollar, it's hard to put a dollar on that, as opposed to giving the customer, in this case, the ability to literally experience one of the benefits that they want you to have, which is choice and self-expression. And so I do think we do that mental calculation, like how many times am I going to want to change that watch band?
Right.
And how hard or easy is it? And yeah, blue, and yeah, but in the summer I might not want blue. And yeah, so they gave me the tan one. And I think that it's a way to lure customers into experiencing some of the benefits of the product that they might not otherwise if you just told them about it but didn't enable it.
Perfect. Well, Judy, thank you so much for this, our second P, and we have two more Ps to go and then a wrap-up video. So for you viewing this, come back. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
See ya.